and gave the rest to the homeless man, who said, "God bless," with a wide smile. "No problem," Brigham said before he started his sprint again. An intersection light turned red, and he glanced both ways before dashing across. A white cargo truck blared its horn and swerved around him. Brigham didn't know how he'd missed such a large vehicle barreling toward him. He waved and shouted, "Sorry!" but kept going. The convention center was packed. Over 200 newly minted lawyers were being sworn in that day. The Salt Lake City swearing-in was always held in the Salt Palace. Brigham hoped there would be snacks because he hadn't eaten yet, having rushed to the convention center straight from work. The principal of the elementary school where he worked as a facilities technician, the new fancy word for janitor, had allowed him this morning off, but he had to be back before afternoon. He was fairly certain he would be the first member of the bar in Utah to also be a janitor. Brigham rushed across the street. The building had been remodeled recently, but it still looked like the basketball arena it used to be. Several posters were up for Salt Lake Comic-Con, which had taken place almost 3 months ago. He took the stairs 2 at a time, ran through some doors and up another set of stairs. In a large auditorium, 200 people in suits milled around as family members sat on folding chairs and snapped photos with their phones. Brigham slipped into the group. Almost everyone there knew each other, since they'd gone to the University of Utah or Brigham Young University. But he was a transplant from Tulane. After Hurricane Katrina, his law school class had been canceled. Rather than transferring, he took some time off, then came back later and finished. He'd wanted to practice somewhere rural. Most big cities had a lawyer for every 6 or 7 people. The markets were so saturated that no one could find a job, and the jobs that were available either didn't pay much or expected you to live at the firm. He wanted neither, so he'd picked the place that looked just about as far from New Orleans as he could get, Salt Lake City, Utah. "Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats," someone announced. More folding chairs had been set up for the admittees. Brigham sat at the end of a row next to a man with an unlit cigar in his mouth. The Chief Justice of the Utah Supreme Court spoke for a few minutes about the grandeur and importance of the law, and about how she reminded her husband, who was a physician, that while his professional forebears were bleeding people with leeches 200 years ago, hers were drafting the Constitution of the United States. The story got a laugh. Then the dean of the University of Utah spoke about the grand old profession and told some anecdotes about the 1 year he actually practiced law before joining academia. The Chief Justice took the podium again and asked the admittees to stand. Brigham got to his feet with the others. The Chief Justice administered the oath, stating each sentence and waiting as the admittees repeated it. "I am fully subject to the laws of the state of Utah and the laws of the United States and will abide by the same. I will support the Constitution of the state of Utah and the Constitution of the United States. I will abide by the rules of professional conduct approved by the Supreme Court."